start now. And Sue, if you can introduce yourself, and if you'd like it, just introduce the other folks who are in the room who may have come with you.
Okay.
And then I would not assume that we know very much about the subject matter. So
Okay.
you can feel free to speak as it's a fundamental level, foundational level, and then tell us why you're here.
Okay.
And you have our attention for as long as you need it.
Started 40 years ago. But let me introduce my husband, Greg Skaskew, and Greg Sola, our good friend.
Welcome.
And we just met out in the hallway.
And what's your name?
Mike Murphy.
Are you representing somebody in particular?
I don't know what client on your behalf of. I'm just taking notes.
Interesting. Okay. All
Okay.
right. Let us know when you figure that out.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. 42 years ago, we live in Bridgewater. There's the Bridgewater Mill Mall down there. And two little girls knocked on our door. They were twins. They were about 5 years old. And they had two kittens in their hands. It's like, what are you doing? They said they were running around the mill mall. It's like, okay, where did they come from? And they said, well, house around the corner. So we went there, and there were about 20 cats and kittens. And the woman was not feeding them. It's like, oh boy. So we went to Dr. Lynn Rell in South Woodstock, and he said, okay, I'll help. Male cats, $15. Female cats, $25. And so we started bringing cats there and helping people pay their bills. And I was driving them, and Greg said, you've got to make them part of the program. They have to drive their own cats. So it started developing and learning as you go. We ended up over at least 20 years with 80 offices throughout the state. And we decided, I'm getting older. I want to be viable and sustainable after we're gone. So we drafted legislation, got it passed in one session. Only one person said no.
When was that?
40 years ago. We incorporated in 83, 86, probably 2000, early 2000s. I can get back to you on that though. Yeah.
That's a good, just generally.
Yeah. And it's made such a difference in the state. We are no longer a kill state automatically. And Vermont is one of the very few that the shelters aren't full where they have to euthanize. When I first moved here, I started volunteer at Lucy Mackenzie Humane Society, and Fridays were horrible because that's when they would take the animals to be euthanized. And it was tough. It was tough on the vets. It was tough on the shelter staff. So I did a little research, and throughout the country, they have Friends of Animals and Spay USA who help people with spay-neuter, reduce spay-neuter costs. And so over the years, we developed more and more, and it's turned into a great program. Like I said, Vermont, it's not automatic. In fact, we're bringing dogs in from out of state. I know the cat shelters are full and the rescue groups are full, and that's tough. And that's why whenever I approve a voucher, I call where the animal came from and I tell them about the program. Because if you don't spread the word, it's in all the town offices every year. I write something for the town report. We're on Channel 3. We used to do a TV show for 12 years, and we talked a lot about animals. But it's just getting the word out, and the veterinarians promote it. So at first, we went under Agency of Agriculture, and that was way back with Dr. Wood. If any of you remember him. No? Man.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, he was. Yeah, worked very well with him. And who was just before him? Or was just after? A little bigger? It's about 4 years.
Wow.
I can picture his face. But I was sad when he left too.
Is this the state veterinarian?
The administrator of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the state vet was Kristen Haas. Yeah. After a few years, we decided it's not the best fit. So we went and decided Economic Services, Department of Children and Families. That's when Dr. Chen was in it. And it was great for quite a while. then the people that we worked with changed. So I sat down with Sean Brown at the time and he said, okay, we're going to switch the people that you're working with. He said, and I promise you won't have any of the problems that you've been subjected to. I said, great. So we were under that, the new establishment for Jeffrey Pippinger, if you knew him, and Adnan Durkak, great people, great people. Recently, it's changed where it's different. But what I want to do, I want to retire. My contract at the end of June. We have grandkids. I want to visit. But I want to make sure that this program is going to work the way it's supposed to. So changes that I highlighted in the rules, some were, I think, just errors that had not been corrected. When it went over from Agency of Agriculture to Economic Services, it never changed in the rules. So I highlighted that. And I don't know, maybe you want to keep it under agriculture. But if you turn to the rule. Oh, and by the way, I put in the back of your folders an application and the current vet list. What worries me right now, and which is one of the main reasons we're here. 4 years ago, we had to close down for 3.5 months, and it was a nightmare, especially with cats. It was horrible. And it's only funded right now by $4 to every dog license. And they go quarterly into the state when people license their dogs. I've surveyed the veterinarians in the program. I've surveyed over 200 people that have used the program. And they all said, my thought is $27. And in the statute, it says you can raise $2 every year, up to $35. We started at 25 or 27 after, I don't know, 15, 20 years, whatever. So my thought was to raise it to 50. Every single applicant that we had approved said, we'll do 50 because you can't walk into an office for under 100, let alone with the procedure. Their medical rates have gone up for medicines. You know, and like Yvette pointed out to me a long time ago, my staff should have a livable wage in retirement, just like everybody. And I completely understand that. But the people that they all agree to help are 185% below the federal poverty level, or seniors on fixed incomes. And let me tell you, whoa, Social Security for most of the people, it's like 1,000, 1,200. It's not livable wage. A lot of people are on programs that automatically qualifies them unless they've purchased a dog over 75 or an animal. Because the veterinarians feel when we first did this, I mean, meeting after meeting after meeting. And the purpose of that was if somebody can afford to buy a dog, why should a veterinarian reduce the rate? And why should fellow Vermonters pay for their surgery? So it's at $75 and it's still at $75, which is reasonable, I think. But the funding right now is what scares me. All the vets suggested we can raise the co-payment. Right now it's $4. They didn't want to go too high. A couple of vets said $8, but most of them were $2 to $3. They said because we don't want to lose people that want to have their animal licensed and them not to be able to do it because I know others tap into that same fund.
Representative Nelson, question?
Thank you, Chairman. You're talking about buy a dog. You're not talking about paying the adoption fee from the shelter, are you?
No, shelter dogs are already spayed and neutered and
Yeah,
vaccinated. Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
A lot of our dogs are coming in from out of state.
I understand.
Yeah. Our kill rate, I don't think our kill rate, if they kill at all, it's because they say temperament. But I can tell you firsthand, I had 2 pit bulls that lived next to us. People moved out and I got a call from our constable. So we have to shoot them. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. He said, no, they're chained that to a wooden doghouse. And this is in the winter. And I hate winter. No bedding, nothing. So my vet gave me medicine. So they were sedated and they wouldn't feel anything. 3 hours later, they were just And if they broke that, we would have been dead. There were 3 of us waiting for them to be asleep. Thank God their people came back. Don't kill them, don't kill them. Nobody wants to do that. But you're not living here. What are we going to do? Look at them. Look at these poor guys. They promised they would come back the next day. And my vet said, okay, I'll take them. I said, thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, a week later, I thought they'd come and take him. Brad called and said, Skaskew. I said, what? He said, they're still here. I said, okay, why don't you neuter them? He said, how about if they die under surgery? I said, no. I know what they look like. Besides, avoid a lawsuit. These are not bad dogs. These are dogs that have been neglected. So he neutered them, vaccinated them, and the people never came back for him. So thank God for Greg. He built the best dog houses, and I hate the winter, but I could have lived in this. They had a window, a flap door. We had 10 by 10 fencing. So little by little, and they were next to each other, but they would fight through the cage. It's like, okay. And one at a time, they just learned to trust. I would walk him up the hill, and the other one would be whining for him. Walk him back down, they'd scrabble, and I'd walk the other one up, come back and scrabble. But over time, they got to be friends. I learned the hard way what leptospirosis was, because I used to walk them and the snow was just melting. And Zimba got into something that he ate. And Greg and I had just gone down to see my parents, and we were down 2 nights. Came back, and my friend called and said, Betty, how are they? She said, I think Zimba's upset about something. When Greg went down to say goodnight to him, he said Zimba came out slowly. Next morning, he had bled out. And we had an autopsy that day on a Sunday. And it turned out leptospirosis. And like the vet said, if we had known this earlier, we might have been able to help. He said, but think about the fox, the wolf, and the other animals that get into something. And if they don't vomit it out, the same thing happens to them. So, lesson to be learned. And after Zimba died, Kiwi, they were huge pits. They had heads like this. And Zimba would come up to kiss me. It would just knock my head off practically. But that's how, if you give an animal attention, and a lot of shelters were doing behaviorists with dogs to make them trust people. It was great. And at the end of his life, his back hind legs were paralyzed, but we had also rescued kittens, and they would play. He would just whack the tail and get away. But most misunderstood animal, but I don't want to get too much off the track. But we're now a state that doesn't do routine euthanasia, and it's great. I am scared for cats though, because any shelter that you call now are full, or they have a waiting list, and so are the rescue groups. So if somebody is denied because they make too much money or they purchased, we've compiled a list of low-cost spay neuter programs that they go to. We've helped people if they can't even afford the $27. We'll pay it, just putting on our Humane Society hat, not a big deal. But it's a program that everybody's terrified. If we don't keep this going, it's going to be a nightmare again. So my suggestions, everywhere I highlighted, I changed agency, which agriculture is, to department that ESD is.
Just to pause here for a second, that when you're talking about everywhere you highlighted, there's a document that is on our committee page. It's not up on the screen, but it looks like,
Oh,
you want to hold that up just so we can.
yeah.
Yeah. So you can find that committee members on our
Okay.
committee website.
Right, then I'll just go through the highlights quickly. Little things like hyphen here. And a pet owner utilizing the program is required to provide a co-payment in the minimum about $27. This suggestion goes up $50 per companion animal. Eliminate. Then the one that follows that, the agency department may increase the co-payment amount as determined to be necessary to maintain stability by no more than $2 every year, up to a maximum of $35 per year. It's only happened once, $25 to $27, and all the years after. And I talked to Economic Services, and they did not want to do it. I said, you know, we're going to run out of money. We're not going to probably be able to go to the end of the fiscal year. I can remember the exact words. Yeah. When we went and met with Commissioner.
Yeah.
She said, she didn't say, yes, we are going to. She said, we're likely to. Close to that.
So in other words, there's a limited amount of money. It's funded by
$4 to every dog license,
when you
Yeah.
get your license
right?
renewed. And if you were to increase, if the state were to increase the amount that it's paying, it would run out of money because that $4 only,
Yeah,
that's finite right now, the $4.
right. And dogs by law have to be licensed by 6 months of age, or they can be seized and euthanized. That's a statute. And anybody I call, I'd say half the people don't license their dogs. So I have to call and say, it's in here. You need to license your dogs because we do have rabies in the state. Not that I want to make a big scare, because about 5, 6, 7 years ago, we had a cat door before we contained all our cats. We have feral cats. One was coming through the door and Greg was coming through and we heard a scream and a raccoon had gotten a hold of the cat. And Greg had to get a shovel to separate him, and the raccoon kept coming back at Greg. And I mean, we had seen the raccoon like a few days before. It's like, oh, okay, you're awake for this something. Oh, nice. Second day, it's like, oh, okay, you want to live here? Okay. Third day, it's like, not right. So Fish and Wildlife came, and the brain has to offer testing. And they called within 24 hours and said, rabid. But we brought our cat down to Dr. Bruce at 10 o'clock at night, and he turned over and he said, Sue, the belly's shredded. So we had her put down. We have it, but I don't want to make a big scare about rabies, because talking with the health department, we did a little spot on WCAX, and the health department gave me the facts. Emily, I can't think of her last name, but 830 something animals, I think in this past year, were tested. 30 or 32 tested positive. The others were euthanized without rabies. You know, it could be distemper, it could be anything that's different, but it was a shame. And now I know that they're just saying dispatch the animal. Well, that doesn't let us know if we have rabies in the area or not. So that concerns me a bit. And it's great that they do rabies bait drop in the top part of the state. I wish it was all over. So
We're protecting Canada. That's why they do it up north.
is it?
Yeah.
They don't have rabid animals up there?
So they claim.
Wow.
So they claim.
Huh. Didn't know that.
They also said they didn't have any plasmosis until they did.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's after they check their passport before they fly over. the border.
What, did you say bats? Cute. Well, I know they have white nose bats, but didn't that turn around for the bats? I think. Okay, so, eliminate.
Representative Burton, question.
Not necessarily on what you're talking about at the moment, but you mentioned that there's quite a few dogs coming into the state. Out of state. Do you have numbers on approximately how many?
No, but they're called rescue dogs.
Okay.
They are already neutered and spayed.
Yeah,
Because they're usually leaving from a facility, and so they would be. We just recently adopted a dog from Texas, and it was spayed and neutered by us.
So they're
We
all-
came up with the 25 other animals, and they were all spayed. and neutered.
a couple of them are, but that's from within the states.
Do you have a
And
rough idea of how many might be coming in?
let's think about a
I don't know
month.
if there's anybody who tracks that number.
Somebody does.
Somebody
Yeah,
that-
I do.
Somebody.
I write it
You would have to-
because it's on the application where they come from. I'm going to say this month, we probably had maybe 12 animals that came out of state that were not neutered, but they paid for them. The highest somebody just paid was 3,500. They didn't write that. I have learned that 75% of the people that apply with dogs because I call where they come from to see if they need help with spay neuter. And then I ask what they paid. 75% of people are misrepresenting what's on there. So they're denied, but they're also sent a list of low-cost spay neuter clinics they could go to. Cats, I'm sorry, 90% misleading. 75% of the cats are either abandoned, stray, found by the dumpster, thrown in the river, in a bad hoarding situation, but it's never a good situation because cats multiply so fast. So that's why we really try to be sure we call where they came from and provide them help too. Okay. Okay, I think that this was misrepresented when it went through Ledge Council. The agency and department in its direction may limit the increase. Parentheses, number of animals is capped at 5. I believe this was meant to mean increase the number of vouchers issued to an income eligible pet owner that has multiple non-sterilized companion animals. I don't think they wanted to cap it. I think that was an error. But if it's over 5 right now, I call economic services and explain the situation. Last week, I went up to a place that had 19 cats, and his neighbor was threatening to shoot him. He shot one. So we brought our traps up. Well, thankfully, his mother claims half of them that she takes care of, and he claims the other. So I was able to get special permission to do that as long as we got them all done. Some farms have them, and it's tough. It's tough because the numbers are so many. And through Title 13, Chapter 8, VSA, the animal welfare, I am a humane officer. I've taken the classes, I put on classes. But you can't make people. You can seize dogs if they're not licensed, but cats don't have any licensing. So anyway. Oh, really important. The veterinarian shall provide a fee schedule in the agreement, which shall be kept confidential from the public, but shared with the contract administrator for the following. I want that, it's very important, but to share with the contract administrator, that would be us. For years, we were always the ones that sent the surveys out to the veterinarians that would put their standard rates on, and then we'd come back and a median rate would be determined. Probably 3/4 of the surveys were sent back to me. And if you look, in your packet there, these are the rates now for 2025. Just without looking at it, how much do you think is being reimbursed for a dog, female dogs spay over 75 pounds? Nobody wants to guess? It's $590. It's a lot of money. So in 1 month, like I said, we're at 55. Probably this month it's going to be $60,000. In the beginning, I used to be able to call, can't think of his name, Claude or something, Clarence, and say, could you tell me what is in the fund? Now it's hard to get that figure whenever I need it. But when we met, it was acknowledged that we would likely not have enough money to continue to the end of the fiscal year at this rate. So, oh, okay, that was my point. We always had the surveys provided to us so we could check the figures. And this time, the economic services would not release them. I said, well, why? And they said, because they're confidential. I said, they're not confidential. I can call any vet and say, can you tell me what it's going to be to spay my cat or my dog? And I just want to be sure, because at the beginning I said, the way this works, if their rates are above the median rate, they get the median rate if they want to be in the program. If their rates are below the median rate, they accept their regular rates 100%. Unfortunately, they misunderstood and everybody was given the median rates. It's like, they corrected it, but out of that, 7 were still in need of correction. And I've asked for it. And the answer was, don't you trust us? It's not a matter of trust. We're the administrator. So that's another thing to be dealt with. I just want to make sure that this program is being run properly. And that when I leave, somebody's going to take it over. It says it goes to a qualified organization. Well, you have to love people and you have to love animals. You'll get calls 7 days a week, and that's fine. Especially, you hear a lot of people along the seniors, especially. It's tough for them. It's their companion. Okay, so. Okay, the veterinarian shall provide a fee schedule in the agreement, which shall be kept confidential. I'm suggesting put confidential from the public, but shared with the contract administrator for the following. Those are the rates. It's on that changed. And the veterinarians have had please requested, because when they go in and they get distemper series, they get one. They have to come back for the booster, but that's when it gets tough for them because they pay an office visit unless they go to Tractor Supply. And it's out of their league for most of them. So I'm just asking that it be made clear it's one series of distemper vaccinations and a single rabies vaccination if needed. Predominant breed. They usually put down, not usually, but they put down mutt. And I need the predominant breed because that also tells me if they have a 5-pound dog and they say it's a stray, bet you if they say Shih Tzu, it's a predominant breed and it's likely been purchased. So I follow up on that. By statute, dogs not licensed, registered in the town in which they live by the 6 months of age can be confiscated and euthanized. I told you about that testing. Oh, and it's, I don't know, we just haven't had this updated. It's now vouchers may be presented to participating vets by the panel within 6 weeks. Actually, it's now 60 days. So that's just a little update.
So I just want to make sure we're following along.
We're now under section 5.2 vouchers.
5.2. Okay.
It's 60 days. And then there's another section in here where they say vets have to have their bills in 10 days after the month. It's now 90 days. And we're very fortunate because some of the veterinarians, it was tough. When corporate came in and bought some, I don't think Nelson was corporate. No. Came in, it really disrupted a lot of offices. Internally, 2 offices. The administrator called me the day she was quitting and she said, I just want to let you know I'm quitting. It's like, oh, I hope somebody comes in and takes over. The vouchers weren't sent in for a long time. And we had to go through, thank God for Dick McCormick. He helped us through that. And then the other one hid files. So that was late. We used to get the, by the way, they used to come back to us. And we would write them in and total everything and send it back. But we are so busy now, and I'm not exaggerating. We work about 55 hours a week, but we have to cap it at 40. We're contractors, so we pay 14%. What we get is 23 and change per hour. But again, do it because I love it. And I also do other work, and so does Greg. Okay. Oh, and the biggest thing. We wanted to do this when we did cats and dogs, but every other month or so, I get a couple of calls for rabbits. And some vets do them and some vets don't. But if we could have rabbits put in there, they are companion animals now. So basically it's upping the co-payment to $50. Registration fee for dogs, maybe $2. Rabbits, And just a couple clerical things in here. And I think we'll survive, and it's not. And I tried to get names of people in all your counties that wanted to call you. I said, don't call them, please. Just let them have your name, your town in which you live, and your phone number. And if they want to call you to verify or for your next, list of people to reach out to, they all really gave. And I don't think we hit 5% of the people, but people are still putting it on Facebook and this and that. So if you want names, I'll be happy to continue to send them to you. If you feel that you've had enough, there's only one, I think Orleans. Who's from Orleans? That was a one page for you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you lose 3 vet offices?
Up there,
Yeah,
lost a couple,
yeah, passed away, right?
retired. One passed away, but that one was bought, retired. Selena Hunter's still in, there's
Mm,
a few.
She's great.
Three, there's 3 up there right now. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know if Selena Hunter does VSNP.
yeah. The animal doctor,
Yeah.
she's great.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
She is. Good to my wife and her, along very well. Yeah, it's quite a program.
Well, the veterinarians and their staff are the backbone. They are really visionary, I always say it wrong, ultralistic.
I will tell you, I will tell you, they do it as a service
Mm-hmm,
because by give, as in a service, that's their part of giving back
Mhm.
because it's not always easy.
I know it.
Okay.
We have developed an ingratitude letter that Greg puts in every one. In fact, we have a couple things we have to add. One of the vets suggested it, but it says, it explains that this program, that veterinarians are usually taking a reduction.
Yeah.
And we've had vets say that people are rude. I said, tell me who they are. I'll happily call them. And we say, it's nice to say it's summertime, pick some flowers, write a thank you letter. Tell them how much you appreciate them, but keep them happy because they're fitting you in. What was the other thing, Craig, that we had to put in? Oh, keep your appointment. I had somebody call the other day and say, I had 3 people that didn't, same woman with 3 animals. They didn't come that day. Okay, I'll call them. And I haven't been able to get a hold of her, but that means their whole day for surgery, for the most part, was up in the air.
See, did you know, restart it all?
I-
Talk a little bit about
The
how
rates,
things are increasing so much.
yeah,
That's
that's,
a big concern with driving, but
yeah. And that's why I want the surveys. I want to do a check and balance, why not? So, but if I can answer any questions or clarify anything, and if you have that, okay, if you have,
Basil, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted a little clarification. I mean, it sounds like I understand what VSNP does, but I don't understand exactly sort of the organizational structure. Like, are you a state program? Are you a nonprofit? Like, if you guys are going to retire, have you posted for replacements? Like, organizationally, can you just kind of clarify a little bit, like how that works, how you're funded and how you will be
Sure.
replaced when you step down?
Yep, well, VBSA Humane Society is a 501c. We started when those 2 little girls came along with the kittens.
Is that an acronym for something or
501, oh,
no, VSOA? What did you?
Vermont Volunteer Services.
Oh, got it. Okay, so
So-
that's the VVSA.
Yeah,
Got it.
we have never taken a salary for any of our work
Uh-huh.
in the 40 years. A lot of good people help make up the program, all volunteers. And, but it's under a state program. We decided we just couldn't keep doing this ourselves. And one thing though, when we did meet with Economic Services, I had a whole bunch of ideas for fundraising and they said, we can't take funds. I said, why? I don't understand. She said, there's no means. I said, well, it's a designated fund. Well, we can't give tax deductions. I said, you don't have to. If people want to support it, why can't they just make a donation? we didn't really have an answer given to us. And I don't know, is there such thing as a standalone program that doesn't have to be under Agriculture, Department of Children, Families, Economic Services?
So just to clarify, so you both are 100% volunteers? I thought you said you guys got $23 an hour.
Oh, that's for our Humane Society.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, so when you guys retire,
Mm-hmm.
will there be a posting, like we're looking for new
Yeah.
director or co-director? to Take these experiences, or what do you envision in terms of how the programs would continue?
Well, they have started, Economic Services said they've started on doing a proposal out. Some of the people that I've talked to, in fact, some veterinarian offices, I said, it's a great job. It really is. You can do it from your home. You can really help people. Especially the seniors. I feel badly for them. Most of the time they've lost their husband, they've lost their wife, and their animal is their companion. And they said that, it's a reason to get up. So a couple of people I've talked to, and I said, if you want to come down to our house, our office is upstairs, spend a day, spend 2 days, I'll explain the whole thing. It's a good program. It makes difference. Did that answer?
Well, so somebody will be hired to fulfill this role then? Like,
It's-
so who is that? Like, do you guys have a board of directors, or is there a?
No, we'll be
it's
out.
ECF? No, but who's going to hire the replacement?
Economic Services.
Okay.
And here
So
it
it's a state
says,
job.
yeah,
Okay.
well, it's a contract. Yeah, but in here it says to a qualified organization. So, and to really be a qualified organization, you could make yourself a 501c3 within 6 months and I said, we'll share our bylaws with you. And if you adhere to everything that we do, protection of animals, you could do it, but you just have to be committed. And that's my big fear. It's got to be somebody that's willing to make sure to continue with it. Just don't let it get swallowed up and say, you can't do this, you can't do this. Yes, you can. I mean,
Brian, did you?
Yeah, we took our cats to Claremont, New Hampshire. So it's an interstate program, which you hadn't mentioned.
I miss them. This is the big thing. And I have fought with Economic Services to pay them. They were 6 months late. And this is one of the ones that didn't send in. Not their fault. And I think Dick McCormick went all the way to Chastity. Who did he go to? And she said they shall all be paid, but Economic Services refuses to pay them. And I can't tell you how many hours. And then there was another office that wanted to keep their old rates. And they were not paid for 3 months. And Dr. Greg had to say, I don't want an increase. I believe in this program. We've been part of it forever. I want these rates. Didn't get paid for 3 months. So finally they gave in and they paid them the reduced rates.
Any other questions or any final comments from you?
I think the points in here, they're pretty basic. Rabbits up 27 to 50, maybe $2 for the dog licensing, especially because I hope all this towns got what I sent to them 2 months ago. I sent them a letter for their town report with that statute on, so they know the law is got to license them because you have to prove they've been vaccinated for rabies. But if anybody knows of, once you have a chance to read anything, if you can think of anything that you would like changed, please let me know, and I'd be happy to work towards it.
Just one more quick one. Is it in state statute that rescue animals have to be spayed or neutered, or is it just more the
No statute.
like we got a dog through Potter's Angels and
Oh, yeah.
lives
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
spayed.
Yeah. I don't know of one shelter that adopts them out without being spayed and vaccinated. Yeah. Heather, hasn't she turned hers more into a facility now? For boarding?
I don't know.
Yeah. But she was doing a lot of rescues and cruelty investigations. We'd go out on a lot together. what I'd like to really see, I know that there's nobody that's been appointed to oversee the animal welfare division section. And I just saw Vince and I said, "Vince, you know, you would be perfect at this because he really cares for animals." He said, "Yeah." He said, "You do it." I said, it actually crossed my mind, but I have a feeling that's a really big job. But right now we have to call, I am a humane officer, but the statute last year passed where you have to call Fish and Wildlife to either assist you or go out. But a lot of things are in the title. I got a call the other day, 2 people about a dog trapped in a camper. The owner was a meth head. He spent the nights in his truck. And probably because there wasn't any heat inside the camper, but this was in New Hampshire. So I called and she didn't know the name of the camp manager. I said, "Well, you have to find that out." And she was all upset. I said, "You have to calm down because you're getting me upset. Make your points, be calm, and talk to the police and just say what you need." So I called the manager and I said, "You know, I don't know about New Hampshire, but within 24 hours, it's adequate food, water, shelter, sanitation, medical attention, free from torture and torment." And people heard this dog howling. Well, this is where they have to get the story straight. He said, "Oh, I was there the 9 o'clock yesterday morning, and he has until Monday to move the dog out." But they did take the dog out that night. So it's good. I mean, it's not the easiest thing to do, but what's hard is if you know the situation and you don't do it.
All right, well, thank you.
Oh, good.
Just, yeah, thank you very much for coming in and we'll have further discussions. We're going to take a break now, committee, and Representative Rachel, if you don't mind, while we take a very